What's up everyone? So if you watched my GT 1030 review, then you probably knew that this video was coming. This video was basically birthed out of curiosity. After my GT 1030 review, I wanted to see where the 1030 landed amongst other budget video cards on the market today. And there are a lot of budget video cards, I might add. Here with me today, I have 3 AMD video cards around $100, and I have 3 NVIDIA video cards around $100. They are the AMD RX 550, the 560, and the 460, and the NVIDIA GT 1030, GTX 1050, and GTX 750 Ti. Plenty of hours and benchmarks later, I think I have a good idea as to which one of these is the best buy for their respective price tier. So let's just jump right into the video. First up, we have the GT 1030. It's priced around $70, has 2 GB of GDDR5 VRAM, and a 30-watt TDP. It effectively battles the RX 550, an $80 GPU, though it really should be cheaper, that houses 2 or 4 GB of GDDR5 VRAM with a 50-watt TDP. This is the 2 GB version of the 550. Next, we have the GTX 1050, a $100 to $110 video card with 2 GB of GDDR5 VRAM and a 75-watt TDP. It effectively battles the RX 460 and the now refreshed RX 560, each using 2 GB or 4 GB of GDDR5 memory, though the ones that I have are both 2 GB. Their prices start around $95 and $105 respectively. Friendly reminder that the 560 is not simply an overclocked 460. It has more steam processors, more compute units, and more texture mapping units. And finally, we have the 750 Ti. This video card is not worth the $110 it's going for brand new, but it's a solid competitor around $70 used. It's in an awkward position because its price says GT 1030 and RX 550, yet its performance probably states otherwise. It will be in its own tier for now, effectively battling everyone. So setting up the benchmarks was a pain at first because I was limited by the lower end video cards. I was limited to certain settings in GTA 5 due to the VRAM and even more settings in Hitman. So the settings are a little bit convoluted, but I will try to be as specific as possible during the benchmark reel. The test bench is an R5 1400 overclocked to 3.9 GHz, 16 GB of 2933 DDR4 memory, and Windows 10 64-bit. Since I'm using lower end video cards, I decided to test lighter titles such as Overwatch and CSGO because I'm assuming that most of you would be playing these games if you're going to be purchasing a $100 video card. But to keep things interesting and fresh, I also tested heavier titles such as GTA 5 and Battlefield 1 just so we can see how these video cards play in AAA titles today. On top of that, I also try to make use of all the APIs available to me. So the final game list is as follows: Overwatch, Grand Theft Auto 5, Counter-Strike Global Offensive, Battlefield 1 using both DirectX 11 and 12, Doom using Vulkan, Hitman using DirectX 12, and finally The Division using DirectX 12. Also, none of the gameplay clips are from the actual benchmark. Using actual gameplay footage, while useful, would be a bit too messy for a 6-way comparison. The respective uploaders will be credited in the description. So without any further ado, here are the benchmarks. Based on these benchmarks, I bet many of you could curate your own conclusions, and that's perfectly okay. But before you do, and before I give my own conclusions, I do want to bring in one final benchmark into the mix, and that is peak power draw. Minus the 560, and I bet it doesn't have this because it's pretty new to the market, all of these video cards have a low profile version. This means that you can basically pop them into a pre-built and have yourself a decent gaming machine for about $100. Unfortunately, most pre-builts come with sub 300 watt inefficient and crummy power supplies, so power consumption could be a deciding factor. So let's see how these video cards stack up against one another. Here is the total power consumption during a GTA 5 benchmark. Remember that the 1400 is overclocked, and odds are your pre-built CPU won't be, so you have some grace. But based on my test, the only one cutting it close would be the RX 560, which makes sense considering it needs a 6-pin external connector from the power supply. As long as you have 250 watts of power or so, I wouldn't worry about any of these video cards. Granted, I was actually able to run that 750 Ti on my Ozbox using a 230 watt power supply. Unfortunately, many subscribers said that they couldn't get it to run properly. They were either experiencing freezing and random PC shutoffs, or it just wouldn't turn on at all. So my rule of thumb generally is, if you have a 230 watt power supply or more, then pretty much everything under the 750 Ti when it comes to power consumption will be good to go. Although, like always, your mileage may vary. But with all of these factors coming into play, which video card wins each tier and which video card wins it all? On average, the RX 550 is slightly faster than the GT 1030 with higher minimums. DirectX 12 and Vulkan seem to really push the 550's numbers up, but it also performed better in 3 out of the 4 DirectX 11 titles I tested. The 550 is the obvious pure performance winner, but I cannot justify purchasing it when the 460 is only $10 more and is significantly faster. The 1030 is $10 cheaper, it consumes less power, and it stays within 6% of the average performance of the RX 550. So unless you can find the 550 for the same price, or power consumption doesn't really matter to you, the 1030 gets my recommendation. The RX 560 seems to be about 13% faster than the 460 on average, with more consistent frame rates, and is only 6.7% slower than the GTX 1050. While it does consume more power, it also has a 4GB variant, which will help its case in games such as GTA 5 and Hitman that really like VRAM. Unfortunately, the 4GB variant falls pretty close to the 1050 Ti in price, which is significantly faster than the 560. Considering the 560 and the 1050 can go for the same price, and considering the 1050 is $10 more than the 460 for 19% more performance, the 1050 seems to be the obvious winner here. And finally, I actually think the 750 Ti is the real price to performance winner here, if you're okay buying used at least. It does come with one caveat though. Before I begin, yes, you can pick up something like a 7950 for about the same price, but if you're going to be installing this on a pre-build, or if power consumption is definitely important to you, then the 750 Ti is the clear winner out of the two. It goes for around the price of a GT 1030 and RX 550, it performs like an RX 460 and consumes less power. Unfortunately, 750 Ti's without 6-pin connectors are not the easiest to find, and they sometimes have a premium. So while this is the best price to performance card you can pick up, you might have to be patient to find it. But if you are buying new, then I think that the GTX 1050, if it goes for about $100, is definitely the clear winner out of all 6 cards that I tested here. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this video, guys. I did a ton of benchmarking and I gave you the results and I gave you my recommendations, but you know, price is different depending on your region. You might have different needs. So really, based on what I have shown you, you can make the best conclusion yourself to see what you really need if you can only spend $100 on a video card. But let me know in the comments below if you are going to purchase any one of these and which one you're purchasing and why. But yeah, that's it for this video. If you guys liked it, then leave a like. And if you loved it, subscribe, because I have more content like this coming out in the near future. Until next time, I'll see you guys later.